is really acting up.
Yeah, you kind of cutting in and out.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Welcome. I had hoped to live stream this. Unfortunately, what I'm going to do is send it to everyone who registered, and we'll also run it on Facebook later. Well, good evening, everyone, and this is our first Black History program for Mingle and PD this year. And the title of this is The Past, Present, and Future of Black Excellence. And I had a little blurb here that I actually sent out beforehand. With February being Black History Month, Mingle decided to pivot our programs to an online format. And I just wanted to read a little bit off of an article that was done in 2017 about, and the article was about Black excellence. And what they did is they talked about comparing Black excellence and what it means. And the quote goes as follows: judging from history, white excellence is a given. It will happen without too much effort and is often seen as natural. Globally, we are still living in a time of Black firsts. First Black achievements also come with a certain amount of pressure. We're free now, right? What's taking so long? It's a constant process of unlearning, but my Blackness will be defined only by myself without explanation and without looking for outside validation. Black excellence is inherent. All we need to do is to be Black and alive to ever be enough. And that was just a powerful statement because we always talk about, as African Americans, as Black people, we have to go the extra mile, to be seen as valuable. And that's what this was about. I kind of took the concept from that article and created this panel discussion. I got two great panelists on board. We are waiting for our other panelist, Miss Marilyn Hemingway. And if we're real quick, let's go through and talk to our panelists. Miss Toyinda, could you introduce yourself first and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Les and the Mingle of the PD, for giving me an opportunity to come on and share with you. Smith. I am a prophetess, a best-selling author, a business consultant, a master coach, a public speaker, mentor, and the creator of the Champion Influence Coaching Certification Program. So I have the privilege of helping professionals who want to become solid coaches get certified so that they can really strategically enter the coaching industry confidently and help others in an organized and guided way. I'm also a global speaker. I've had opportunities with Amazon in Seattle, Boston, and Luxembourg. And I also do workshops on emotional intelligence and team building and things of that nature. And I am most excited about being someone that is really a woman of faith. And I really use my faith to push me through. And I use my faith to help others to excel. So that is quick, fast, and in a hurry about Toyinda Smith. And thank you again for having me here.
And thank you for being here. Brother Capers.
Yo, what's going on, brother Les? Hey, thank you to Mingle of the PD for having me on. Thank you for everybody that's joining in this evening to participate in this Black History event. A little bit about myself, Casey Capers. I'm a senior law enforcement consultant, also a senior law enforcement executive. I'm also a leadership coach, speaker, teacher, and trainer, certified Maxwell, Toy and myself. We both John Maxwell certified.
Yes.
So in the process of publishing my first book, and I also, again, consult a lot of communities, especially a lot of different law enforcement communities about community policing, helping them create ideas to bridge between law enforcement and the community, especially the Black community, right? Because we know that especially over the recent year or so, there has been a greater divide between law enforcement and the Black community. So, and me being blessed to be in the law enforcement arena and served in some of the positions and titles that I've held, I try to do all that I can to make sure that I'm an advocate and also an ambassador for the Black community in this arena that's predominantly white, and still has its share of challenges, right? And still got a longer way to go before it can be considered Black friendly, if that makes sense. Matter of fact, there is a gentleman running for city council here in Florence. We'll see the results later on this afternoon. He created a crime prevention plan. He spoke about a crime prevention plan, and I'm actually the author that helped created that, and the consultant and mentor behind that plan. And we really need it here in the city of Florence and Florence County, and the PD as a whole, right? But being that Florence is such a growing hub and a major municipality here in the PD, we definitely need it. So just a little bit about myself. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you again for being here. And just a little bit about me. I'm Les Eccles. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce, Director of Community and Minority Enterprise, but I also am a board member and co-founder of MINGLE PD, among other things. But we're going to get right down to this panel because we have some outstanding questions here. But the bottom line of this panel is the panel is going to take a deep dive into what it means to exemplify and exude Black excellence in the face of continued covert and overt resistance to racial equity and inclusion. How are we defining Black excellence? We're defining it through the lens of our achievements, individuality, and as a people. And how far have we come and positive outcomes? You know, because we always talk about what we're doing and what direction we're going in, but outcomes is key because that's where the direction we're going in. We're trying to come up with a positive outcome for all this. So I'm going to start with first question I'm going to start with, folks. How can we, both individually and collectively, advance Black excellence? And I'm going to start with Mr. Capers. Do you want to kind of touch on that a little bit for me? Muted. You're muted, Brother Capers.
I'm sorry about that. Well, one of the ways individually that we can advance Black excellence, number one is being a role model, right? Being an example. For, you know, a lot of times when we look, especially in the Black community, right? Especially at the male population, we are missing a lot of great Black examples, right? What an example of what it means to be a man, right? And to be a professional Black man, right? Because I'm so tired of folk looking at us that are Black and thinking, especially Black men, and thinking that we're all thugs, right? Or, you know, or that we don't belong, right? So, so it really would mean a lot, right, if we had more examples of what it means to be a Black professional, and have men teaching our younger men, you know, what it means, you know, how to conduct yourself in a business meeting, how to conduct yourself in public, how to network, you know, what the value of the circle that you build, of having the people around you, you know, not just hanging out with people, you know, just to be hanging out, but always have a purpose. So one of the ways that I think that we can, me personally, individually, advance Black excellence is having more examples and more mentors, so that our young men and our young women have an example to follow.
Thank you, Brother Capers. Did you want to follow up on that, Toyinda? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Absolutely. I thought a little bit into it, and I would say, just along with what Captain Capers was saying, is just as an individual, advancing Black excellence comes into play when we're very visible, doing and creating and adding generational value. And when I say generational value, I'm simply saying, like, we're adding enough value that it's going to impact 20 to 30 years out. So it's going to impact people, places,
843
and things. And so, for example, we have to use our influence to work towards, for example, closing achievement gaps. in your hometown or in your region. I thought about LeBron James and his team. They're visibly working in Akron, Ohio with the LeBron James I Promise School. If I even think about what's going on right here in Florence, I'm in Hartsville, but in Florence, you have Ashley Smart and her team, and they're increasing the number of girls who turn into women in STEM. And then over in Bishopville, South Carolina, we have Dr. Keith Bailey. He's making generational impact with the charter school, PD Math, Science, Technology Academy, which happens to be located in what people have called the corridor of shame. And now I think they have deemed it the corridor of opportunity. So I think individually, in terms of Black excellence, and even collectively, we should be visible doing those things that create the generational impact.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I see our other panelist has actually joined us. Miss Marilyn, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm about to put you in the spotlight, so I want to give you a heads up real quick.
That's fine. I just finished a presentation, so I apologize for my tardiness. Just wrapped up a presentation, so but I'm here.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. With that said, we'll backtrack for a second. Our panelists got a chance to tell us a little bit about themselves. Marilyn, and please just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure, thank you very much. My name is Marilyn Hemingway, and in 2018, I started the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. I also am the owner of the Hemingway Group communications firm, and I also started this past year the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute and the Gullah Geechee Chamber Foundation. And this year, I'm actually starting another business. I have an entire business plan. By the time I finish, I think I'm going to have about 9 or 10 businesses and nonprofits. But let me focus on the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce because that's what I am really focusing on right now. I started it in 2018 with the mission to create global awareness, profitability, and sustainability of African American businesses and other entities within the Gullah community. Gullah, the Black community, the African American community. And for those of you who don't know Gullah, we are descendants of Africans, of the enslaved Africans and African Americans. And we live along the federal designation. And I want to make sure people understand that. The federal designation is North Carolina from Wilmington, all of South Carolina coast, the Georgia coast, and Florida into Jacksonville, Florida. And I started this chamber in Georgetown, South Carolina, which is my home. But the intention is to have this chamber across all 4 states. And when I say raise global awareness, you have to understand that the Gullah Geechee, we are a global community. We are descendants of enslaved Africans who were brought from West Africa, who were brought to the islands, Barbados, Bermuda, Jamaica, all the Caribbean islands. But they were also brought into North America, the states I already cited. They were also taken to South America and to England, the transatlantic slave route. So that means we are a global community, and a lot of us don't realize that. So why do I mention that? Because we have global opportunity. And I started this for economic uplift and generational wealth, knowing our connection to the environment, addressing climate change, and also the career and business opportunities in green renewable energy. We cannot disconnect our connection to the land and the water. So this is all interconnected. I like to say healthy environment, healthy people, healthy businesses, healthy communities. And that's who I am. That's what I'm doing right now. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to share more with you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And we had kind of started on the Q&A, so I'm going to jump to the next question because it's really relevant in the topic for today. How has Black excellence changed in the last 5 years? And what do you think will happen in the next 5 to 10 years? And how we're defining Black excellence, again, Marilyn, just to reiterate, we're defining it through the lens of achievements individually and as a people, how far we have come and some of the positive outcomes. So again, how has Black excellence changed in the last 5 years? And what do you think will happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Toyin, do you want to kick us off on this one?
I'm on mute. This one is it's difficult for me because I am, I have not used the term Black excellence before, right? Because for me, it's the things that I get up to do every day, I do them in excellence. And so I'm going to say, I'm just going to take a small leap towards this and say, you know, over the past 5 years and then going into the next 10 years, I think some of the changes have been that we as Black people who are visible, who are innovative and being creative and impacting the world are being more visible. I remember the movie Hidden Figures, that movie coming out, and they're creating movies that share with us what has happened in the past, but was hidden. So what I'm saying is that over the last 5 years, I've actually learned more about my history and the women and men who have created this space of generational impact and adding value into society, specifically for our people. I'm just now coming into a new awareness. I know about the people in the past, okay, but a new awareness through film. And that's what I think, will be this change. More and more film work and more narratives being created to bring us into awareness of Black excellence from the past, but they're going to be new to some of us who did not really pay attention in that space.
Marilyn, do you want to kind of touch on that one?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. To me, I also don't necessarily use the term Black excellence, but I love it. So I'm going to take ownership of it. And that's what I want to talk about, ownership. And what do I mean by ownership? We have to own our story. We have to own who we are. We have to own our own economy. And let me give you an example. Many years ago, I was part-time executive director of the Black Museum in Georgetown, my hometown. And one day, a white woman came in and she spent $800 on local Black art. And it struck my curiosity. So we started up a conversation, why are you buying this? Is this for your collection, et cetera? Now, $800, maybe 15, 20 years ago sounded like a lot of money. But what she told me is she had gotten hip to the fact that these small town Black museums, local Black artists, that she could take that art and go back to her shop and sell it for $3,000 or $4,000. And this was like 20 years ago. So the light bulb went off on me. I'm like, what are we doing here? And my thing when I speak of ownership, we had to learn, or we have to learn even to this day, how do we sell 10% of what we own so we can retain 100%? How does that speak to Black excellence? We have got to learn the hard and soft skills that allow us to control our economic uplift. And we have to figure out that 10% of ownership, that 10% that we're willing to sell to anyone, so we can retain ownership. And what's ownership? Ownership of our land, ownership of our own businesses, ownership of our skill set, ownership of our education. And once we figure that out, we have nothing left to grasp but Black excellence. So to me, Black excellence is ownership of our education, our story, who we are, and figuring out how we're going to get money so we could create economic uplift in our community, but more importantly, generational wealth. That's Black excellence. And I don't want to make it all about money. And that's why I said education, because education is, yes, it's a 4-year degree, it's a 2-year degree, but as my mother told me after I got my 4-year degree, keep learning, go to community courses, go to workshops, seminars, now we call them webinars. That is Black excellence. That is what we lead on. And if you look at history, baseball, football are good examples. Once Black folks broke those glass ceilings, they're now majority Black and brown. And it's the same thing with politics. Once Barack Obama broke that glass ceiling, look at the people who are stepping up and are running for office now. And in 20 years, you know, and that's probably why we're having a lot of pushback now. And that's a whole nother conversation. But for me, ownership is Black excellence.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate that. Kenera,
Yes, sir.
Capers.
Yes, sir. So if I can chime in, and man, it's kind of hard coming behind these powerful women that we got up here. But so if we look back at the past 5 years, and again going to speak to Miss Marilyn point, we have a lot of men and women of color, right, that has a seat at the table now, right? Matter of fact, we got more men and women of color at the table now, right, than it has been, in a lifetime, right? So, that's in the law enforcement arena, the political arena, the educational arena, the entertainment arena, right? And back to a comment that one of our viewers made earlier, not just seeing Black men, and women just as athletes and just a tool, right? They're more than just a tool, like LeBron James that Corey talked about earlier, how he's giving back in his community, right? Helping educate, and create that next generation, in South, like in the PD here in South Carolina. Right now, we have the most Black sheriffs, right, in the surrounding counties in the PD than any other area in the state of South Carolina, right? When at one time, when you look, all the top law enforcement executive, whether there was a sheriff or police chief, were always somebody Black, right? So when we speak about a lot of the inequality and the biases that are towards Black, and when we look at our prison system, especially in the state of South Carolina, and who makes up that prison system, right? It looked like us. Right. But now that we got these executives in place, matter of fact, the new Secretary of Defense, right, he's a Black man, right? The first there's ever been. We had Colin Powell, who was the first African-American, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But now we got other people at the table. What I've seen that, what President Obama and all those, Jim Clyburn and all those have done to pave the way to now that, guess what? There is room for us to have a seat at the table. Now, in the next 5 and 10 years and beyond, what are we going to do once we come to the table? Right? Are we going to create other rooms so others can follow behind us? Or are we going to get to the table, right, and be selfish? Because a part of what hinders us as Blacks is that we hurt ourselves, right? We don't help one another like we should, right? We don't come together and share knowledge and share information.
I heard it earlier when we were talking to the council.
But what we constantly do, we get that I syndrome. We get to that table, right? And we want it to be all about us and our position. But we can't be that way if we want to continue to excel, as a nation and a culture of people.
Wow, thank you, Brother Capers. Powerful stuff there. Again, we had hoped to live stream Marilyn. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to send it out to everyone and run it on our page as well. So you'll be able to review it a little later. Gonna jump to a couple more questions here. We kind of talked about past, present, and future, so I'll skip past that a little bit. What are the most critical? Well, I know I won't even jump on that one. Who are making the greatest, some great advancements in your field or industry, and what are they doing? You can include yourself, by the way.
Who do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Les, you're muted.
Brother Capers.
Yes, sir. Hey, so great question, right? And mind you now, so I just want to throw this out as a disclaimer. And so these gentlemen's names that I'm about to call, right? A lot of them, you know, are part of the greatest fraternity in the world, right? You know, Q Psi. But anyway, so we got Sheriff Gary McFadden, right? Who's the first Black sheriff of Mecklenburg County, which is one of the largest counties on the East Coast. Matter of fact, his agency, he as a Black sheriff, he has the largest agency, right, on the East Coast, right? We got Sheriff Anthony Dennis down in Sumter County. He's the past president of the South Carolina Sheriff's Association. Matter of fact, he just won Sheriff of the Year. We got Sheriff James Dixon over in Chesterfield County, first Black sheriff there. We got Sheriff Purnell up in Dillon County, first Black sheriff there. Sheriff Charles Lemon, you know, he's the second Black sheriff from Marlborough County, right? We got a young man here in Florence County, Darren Yarborough, you know, who almost became the first Black sheriff of Florence County. All these young men are doing some great things and helping to pave the way, right? Helping to make it a level playing field, right? You know, and even myself, right? To be a young, you know, to have been a young police chief in Miss Maryland, I used to be the police chief down in Andrews, which is in Georgetown County, right? Helping to make the community safe, help to be that voice of reasoning, right? To stop a lot, because a lot of our young men and young women are getting stopped and getting arrested for stuff and going to jail and messing up their future, and they don't belong there, right? Having someone to advocate for them to make the process fair, right? Having someone to step in and stand in the gap and get those police officers that don't belong in our profession, who can't protect and serve all, to help get them out of this profession, so that way people can feel safe. Businesses are not going to grow when crime is high, right? If you got a community, county, or city where crime is high, don't nobody want to grow there. And the first place that they want to point the finger at is the Black community, right? Well, guess what? A lot of the white polices are not going into the Black community to do any community policing or outreach. Number one, because they can't connect. Number two, they don't know how to relate, right? And number three, they are afraid of us. We can't be afraid of one another. We can't be afraid to go in and say, you know what, we need to work together to combat this crime, so that way we can have a better economy for ourselves. So, and those are just a few of the young men that's making a difference in our field, in my field, and I'm glad to serve with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn, do you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, I want to, there are a lot of folks out there working. So let me first say the entrepreneurs that I work with, who are at their kitchen tables on the front porch, I meet with them, who are baking cakes, who are making soap, who are making bath and body works, who are making quilts and all those authentic handcrafted items. They're excellent. They're entrepreneurs who are stepping out, doing things, and we really don't understand the impact of that. But man, that is part of our future also. So I want to give kudos to those who are taking their gifts and really making something happen with those gifts. And they just need help in through collaboration to get to the next level. And that's why I started, another reason why I started the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. I also want to give props to, he's my cousin, so I'm very proud of him, Brunson Cooper, who started Korenic Construction Group. He is in Maryland, but he's originally from Hemingway, South Carolina, in the town of Hemingway. Got his education with the North Carolina A&T and continued a family tradition of carpentry and construction, but he took it to the next level. And his company in 2019 had revenues of $40 million. And the reason I note him, yes, I'm proud because he's my cousin, but we talk about getting bonded and certified. When he started his company, he went and got mentors, other Blacks in construction groups who are making far more than his company, and he became their mentee. And one of the first things they told him to do is get bonded and certified, because that puts you on a whole nother level. If you talk Black excellence, that's what you're talking about in construction in particular, but in other areas. If you go to his website, and I'm going to post it in our chat section, he has just certifications after certification. And what that opened up for him was then he could become a subcontractor to bigger contracts. And eventually he grew his company where he was the contractor, and he's hiring deliberately other Black-owned companies to be subcontractors. So when Mr. Capers is talking about that table and a seat at the table, he's putting it in action. He's built a table, and then he pulled up other chairs to that table. So that's someone that is a wonderful example of what we can do. And from Hemingway, South Carolina, very smart, sharp, just coming from a family of doers. And I do, yeah, I'm gonna claim that family. We're first cousins, but he's an example, and he gives back to his community. He's come back home. He's done food drives. He gives back to his community, and he's very definitely someone that we need to acknowledge.
Thank you, Marilyn. Toyinda?
Absolutely. So I really looked at individuals or a individual from a national perspective. I really like the advancements that an African-American woman named Valerie Burton is doing. She's created a great coaching institute, and it's based from practical and research-based coaching. So I am in the coaching industry, you all, and I am one who certifies coaches. So I teach and I train individuals to become coaches. So we started the Champion Influence Coach Certification Program, which is underneath my LLC called The Coaching Seat in 2018. And since then, we've had 51 coaches come through the program. And I'm saying that that's a big deal for me because I'm not from South Carolina. I moved to South Carolina from Indiana, and I made it my business that even as I was resetting my life, coming off of my second divorce, having to start over, not having enough money to make it when I got to Hartsville, this is a big deal because even during my transition, my issues, my financial concerns that I had personally, I did look at the landscape of South Carolina. And then especially here in Hartsville, I saw that there were some educational gaps, and there were gaps in between where women who were the head of the household, but they weren't really making enough money. I happened to be one of them when I moved here to South Carolina. So I made it my business to create an opportunity for professional development, especially for women. I do have men within the program, but I made it my business to do something that would create, and I keep saying this right, generational impact. Right, generational value, something that individuals could use in an entrepreneurial space and use that to grow themselves and grow others around them. So again, Valerie Burton, with her CAP Institute, her coaching program, African-American woman, she is shutting the game down. I love it, very international program. I'm excited that even our program, the Champion Influence program, we are indeed international. We have already broke into the Bahamas, and actually at the end of this month, we'll have another coach who was out of Trinidad Tobago. So it's important for me and everybody that's connected to the Champion Influence brand to always think beyond ourselves. Like the things that I'm doing, the advancements that I'm making in coaching is not about me, but it's about the generation that's 20 to 30 years out coming behind me when I'm dead and gone. The other thing that I want to say about something that wonderful that happened for me in 2020, as Coach Canera said, we are both John Maxwell certified coaches, speakers, and trainers. And in 2020, I made John Maxwell's top 20. Now it's 30,000 coaches within the John Maxwell program, and I made the top 20 for the work that I'm doing here in South Carolina. And I'm telling you, I was floored and very thankful. And specifically, the award is called the Culture Awards, but my category was nurturing, right? So basically, it said that I go alongside of the people that I'm working with. So I'm just honored and thankful. I'm going to continue to do this work until I can't do it anymore. I'm going to bring people alongside of me. And what Ms. Hemingway said is really important. I know that I have not gotten my certification yet, but that is on my list to get done this year. And if anybody out there can help me and walk me through that, I would really appreciate it. I have looked at the application. The other thing is my company has the opportunity to compete for a large contract out of Texas connected to the work that we're doing. And not only Texas, it's going to be some other locations, but this is what Black excellence is. It's really just kind of expanding yourself out. And so I'm really excited about the advancements in coaching.
Thank you all. And what an amazing story, an amazing journey, Toy. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna move on to one more question, a couple more questions. And anyone have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat and we will present it to the speakers. But in the interim, I will ask everyone stay muted who isn't actually involved in this on the panel to please mute themselves unless we get to a Q&A set portion, at which point we'll kind of open the floor up a little bit. What are some common misconceptions people have about Black success, and how can we combat those misconceptions and communicate more effectively? Or do we need to combat them? Does it need to go away by osmosis? Do we need to combat it? It's something we need to fight. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Marilyn.
I think one of the concepts is that we have as a people towards our own people and businesses is that we can only make our money with Black folks. We can make our money with Black folks because we need to support each other. We need to collaborate, but y'all need to sell y'all services and products to white folks too. I mean, I'm just being honest. Why are you limiting yourself? And that's actually a misconception that for us to be a Black business, that we have to only sell or do business with Black folks. Yes, I do encourage that because you don't want to leave any market left untouched, but y'all need to go and do business with Hispanics, white folks too, because you're in the business of doing business, all right, which will uplift your community. And I know that's strange to probably say that, a misconception, but it is. And I see that thread all the time that we got to be pro-Black. We confuse uplifting the Black community with only selling our products and services to Black folks. I don't know about y'all, but Black excellence means we do business with everybody. When we walk into the room, we need to command the room because of who we are, who our ancestors were. Black women, everyone comes from us. I know, everyone comes from us. So if you own that, you can walk into the room. They need to say, hey, mother, because we mother of all. You know, so we have this concept that we can own, the misconception that we don't only do business with Black folks. Go get their money and invest it back into our community.
Thank you. Toy, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Just a little bit. I really feel like the misconception is that, you know, those who operate in Black excellence is very rare, or we're elitist. And it's just like, no, we are normal people who come from a history of people making impact, making change, creating, innovating. And I think in order to combat maybe that myth or that misconception is that we have to talk about it. We have to build the narrative. We don't need other people creating the narrative for the things that we're doing. So we have to speak more about our work. We have to share personal stories of triumph and adversities. Again, as I said, you all, I came to South Carolina and I just knew that I wasn't going to have enough money to make ends meet. Luckily, I met Les, and he gave me an opportunity to even speak at his organization, and that built a track record. And so the relationships matter as well. And hopefully we'll have a little time to talk about that. But we have to build we have to build the narrative for ourselves, not allow other people to speak about the narrative. And if they speak about the narrative, we want to make sure that they are speaking on the right track. So it's important to share those stories of triumph and adversities. Tell where we came from. Share those things that are embarrassing. Like, I've had to seek assistance, you all, as an entrepreneur, because 95% of my money comes from entrepreneurship. 95%. And so I've had to seek assistance from some of the agencies around this area just to kind of get me over till I make it to the next juncture or the next contract that comes through. So it's not easy being an entrepreneur. It is worth it in the long run, but relationships matter, and we have to build our own narrative. And we are not rare. We are not elitist. We are the people that come from this. So that's what I wanted to share in terms of that.
Well, let's talk a little. Let's go into that a little deeper, Toby. You talked about building relationships and building rapport. Brother Capers, in law enforcement, you talk about having to build relationships and build rapport and create your own narrative. Talk to us a little bit about that dynamic, particularly in Europe, in your line of work in law enforcement, about trying to create our own dialogue and have our own dynamic and still trying to build rapport and build positive rapport and relationships with people, both inside and outside the force.
Well, and great question. Hey, before I hit on that, can I just kind of touch base on the last question?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? So I got two things when it comes to the misconception about Black success and excellence. So real quick, I was abandoned. My mom that had me, she was 15 years old when she had me. She abandoned me. I was 9 months old. My great grandmother, who was 93, 94 years old at the time, adopted me, right? Nobody else wanted me. I was told in life that I would never be nothing. I would either be dead, locked up in jail, or strung out on drugs, right? I didn't know who my mother was. I didn't know who my biological father was, right? So, and I was set up, right, to the rest of the world to just be another Black number and fail, right? So when we talk about success, the majority of our culture think, number one, it's hard to be successful. Right? They think, well, man, everybody else is doing this and it's hard, right? And two, there's so many false images of success, right? There's too much emphasis placed on titles, placed on status, placed on positions, placed on your material possessions, right? Guess what? Success is whatever you define or decide for yourself what success is going to be. Right? So we have to get out of our minds that we're always in competition. Leaders, here's a nugget. True leaders don't compete. True leaders create. We're creators, not competitors, right? And as Black folks, we don't need to be competing with one another. We need to be busy creating opportunities, not only for ourselves, right? But for everybody that's sewing in. Back to what Marilyn said, expand your business outside. Have a business that's open for everybody. Now goes into the part about relationship. Network is important, right? Because your network determines your net worth, right? And if you don't have a good solid network, right? Your net worth ain't worth nothing. Okay. And in my profession, because it's still hard being accepted, being Black, right? That's why we have to make sure that we're a professional at all times. We know what we're talking about. We make sure we're qualified, make sure we got the education that we need, the credentials. Matter of fact, there's one particular city that I just interviewed for the police chief position. When the white finance director looked at my resume, he said, man, you too qualified to be here, right? Which was a good thing, okay? Which was a good thing, right? But like I told him, my passion is making sure that communities are safe, you know, that that the people that have worked so many years and have retired got a safe place to retire, that the kids has got a safe place to grow up, to go out, to get a good education, to get other tools to come back to the community, to contribute back. There's so many of our Blacks that are leaving small places like Lake City, Hemingway, Andrews, Somerton, Manning, going off to bigger cities, not coming back because they feel like there is no opportunity, when truly the opportunity is within them, right? They're the ones that's going to create, right, that table Ms. Marilyn talked about, right? Each one of us got a skill set and ability. We all got something to bring, right? Let's bring what we got, no matter how big, you know, the city is or how small the town is, right? We all got something to contribute. And again, networking. If I can give any piece of advice to anybody, is reevaluate your circles. Know who you surround yourself by, right? And guess what? Find out what value you add to them and what value they add back to you, right? Because connecting with people is all about adding and sharing value. I call it being bad, right? You bring value, you add value, and you distribute value, right? And the more we do that, right, the more we can help others continue their success, right? You know, because again, success is how you define it to be, right? And all of us, whether, you know, you decided you want to go to college and get a degree and get a good job being, you know, a mid-level manager, if that's what you achieve, that's your success. Stop trying to measure yourself to everybody else, right? And again, and in building relationships, you got to know how to communicate, right? We got to know how to articulate, right? You know, the relationships that we want. You know, some people are around people and, you know, and they don't know how to ask for, you know, hey, teach me some things, right? You know, they don't know how to articulate, you know, their value, because sometimes we get into this mentor-mentee relationship and some people feel like they have nothing to add. But guess what? Everybody's always learning. Right? In a true mentor-mentee relationship, the mentor is learning just much from the mentee as a mentee is learning from the mentor, right? So those things, some of those things are important. And again, man, surround yourself with some great people. You know, as for me, there is nobody in the state of South Carolina that I can't reach out to, you know, no matter what their ethnic background is in law enforcement, because everybody know I'm about helping people. Everybody know I'm about growing and building communities, right? And if somebody needs something done, you know, I can pick up the phone and call. And man, that is a great, great thing, especially in the times that we're living in now. Some of our communities didn't see what some of the other areas saw, you know, when the Black Lives Matters and all the protests and stuff was going on. Why? Because, you know, there was people like myself and others that was behind the scenes doing things in the community, you know, not allowing those bad things to happen. Yes, give them a right to protest and do what they need to do, but don't let it turn violent. Let their voice be heard, right? But no violence come. So just wanted to add that.
Les, I want to add something also, jumping off from Mr. Capers. I think one of the things we need to do is we need to acknowledge our brokenness. We all have something that's broken. And once you acknowledge that brokenness, then you can fix it. And then you can get on your own journey. And I had to personally go through that. Your journey is not over until you close your eyes for the last time. And that means you're going to always have ups and downs, ebbs and flows, the mountaintops and the valleys. It's how you pick yourself up after you hit the valleys. And it's also how you pick yourself up after you hit the mountaintops. But we got to acknowledge that brokenness in us so that we can fix it. And as a community, we have a trauma, historical trauma and brokenness because of enslavement of our ancestors. And that's something we deal with whether we want to admit that or not. For the minimum, we need to acknowledge it, because it's like having an open wound on your body. If you don't acknowledge that open wound, it's going to continue to bleed and fester. You have to acknowledge it so you can cleanse it and you can bandage it and you can heal it. And we have to do that. And my personal story includes me. I have suffered from depression off and on since college, and I've sought treatment. For me to be where I'm at right now tonight, I had to go and get some therapy about 2017. But at the same time, I also went because I knew I wanted to do more than what I was doing. I went and took a community class at the College of Charleston, a free business class that set me on the road that I knew I was on, but I needed to get that education. Those two things together put me on a healthier journey. And I had to take ownership. That's why I keep going back to ownership. Once you own it, you'll be amazed how much gossip will fall away to the side. Because when you're on your journey, you don't have time for gossip. When you're on your journey, you don't have time for the people who don't wish you well. As a matter of fact, you're going to start attracting healthy people. You're going to start attracting people who are on their own healthy journey. And you're going to figure out ways to collaborate and work collectively to build your own tables, to move the community forward. And I think as a community, as individuals, a lot of us have not acknowledged that brokenness. We're so busy trying to run from it. It stays with us. And that's why we have domestic violence issues. We have community issues. And this is not the end all be all. And that's why I indicate it's a journey, because there's some days I don't want to get out of bed. There's some days I hop out of bed. There's some days where my morning is wonderful, my afternoon is rough. And nighttime I stay up. But I know this too is just part of my journey, and I'll get through this, because ultimately what we need to be are problem solvers. That's what entrepreneurs are. That's what small business owners are. They see something that's lacking in their community, or there is a need in their community, and we figure out on our journey how we're going to solve the need, how we're going to solve that problem. The key for us, for Black people, is we need to realize as individuals, we're not the most wealthiest community. And let's be honest about that. We don't have a lot of billionaires where we can go pitch, or millionaires, and say, I have this wonderful idea. Can you invest in it? So what we need to do is think out of the box and be innovative together, and how I bring a skill to the table, how you bring a skill to the table, and how we can create what we want to create together and move this community forward. But before we do any of that, we need to sit down with ourselves. And I do it all the time. You know, I do, because it's a constant journey, and figure, what is my brokenness? How can I heal or start that healing journey? And from there, as a healthy individuals, then you bring something to the table for your community. Until then, you just a rat running around in the maze. And I just wanted to bring that. Thank you, Mr. Capers, for jogging my thoughts on that.
You're welcome.
Thank
Can
you.
I add to that as
Please,
well?
please.
Okay.
Please, Julian, I want you to talk about rapport building, as well as we're talking about seats at the table. I thought that was ironic.
Absolutely.
So please.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the coaching seat is really a place where you are at your seat at the table, and you're operating and actualizing your authority. It's a place of power, but it's also a place of being a conduit of impact, a conduit to bring others behind you. Because when we come into the door, we don't shut the door, right? We leave that door cracked open. And then while we're at the table, we are also sending messages to other decision makers that we got some people coming in behind us. So we have a welcoming party ready for the individuals coming behind us. As it relates to Black excellence and relationship building, relationships have been I'm going to say 100% of my success has been because I took the time out to build relationships. Listen, relationship building takes time. So you have to sacrifice. Now, it's not a sacrifice unless it costs you something. We can't watch Housewives. We can't watch Empire. We can't watch Power. We cannot do it. What we've got to be doing is on Zoom calls such as this, and whenever the world opens up, where we go out and to network with people, and that means to build relationships. It means to make connections. We connect to them in a way that increases our influence with them. So I have gotten to where I am because of the time that I sold into when I first moved to South Carolina. And even before I came to South Carolina, all of my social capital was back in Indiana. But I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I had to go into places, even if I was going to be the only Black person, even if I was only going to be the only woman, I had to go into those places anyway and not be ignored. Hello. Come tipping in my heels with this big smile and gap and introduce myself to people who didn't look like me. A quick story, when I first moved here, I joined the Leadership Hartsville. I didn't have enough money to join it. They gave me a scholarship, y'all. I found the other $300 or something that needed to go with that. But I was very intentional because I needed to meet the players. Hello. I needed to meet the people who were the players on this chessboard. So I go into one space. I feel like it may be 2 Black people there, okay? And I didn't know that he was the president of the governor's school, okay? I found out he was the president of the governor's school. This was about 5-6 years ago when we started talking. I was at a table. He and another guy came up to the table, and I made it my business to talk to them, right? And so I had shared that I had come from Indiana, that I had a track and field background and would love to coach. And so the president says, oh, we're looking for a head coach at the governor's school. He says, I need you to get in contact with this athletic director, and then I'll also see the athletic director today at a tennis match. So he goes and he does what he does in terms of talking to the athletic director. I have an interview, and then of course I'm competing against some other people, but I come out as the head coach. Now, if I would have clammed up and said, well, I'm the only Black person, I'm the only woman, I don't want to speak because I got this gap in my mouth, right? If I would have clammed up and not shared my narrative with people who didn't look like me, and then followed through and followed up, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. From there, I had many other opportunities. I mean, even speaking for Amazon, you all, or a subgroup of Amazon, it was from a relation back home. Somebody was watching me on Facebook. People are always watching. Entrepreneurs, people are always watching you. They're watching me on Facebook and they're saying, hey, I want you to come and speak to our women's group. Are you kidding me? Listen, I didn't care how much those people were going to pay me. I was going because I knew that it would grow into another thing. Mm-hmm. And from there, it grew into other opportunities. I didn't know where Luxembourg was. I hope I'm even pronouncing it right. I didn't know where that was. I had to buy a globe, you all, because of relationships. So my suggestion to you going forward is that you've got to bear down and connect with people. That means you've got to talk to them. That means you've got to follow up. You might even have to pay for their lunch. Come on. You might have to pay for somebody's lunch or their time. Sow a seed into individuals. When people pour into me, I sow a seed. Whether it's a free book, whether I put $25 in their cash app for lunch, I sow seeds. Do not ask people for free things. Give them things back so that they know that you are willing to invest.
Hey, Les, can I jump in and add something too?
Yeah, please.
All right, so, and man, hey, great discussion, right? Want to throw some things in there. Mentors, right? All of us need mentors, but we need multiple mentors. You cannot have just one mentor. You need multiple mentors for different areas of your life, right? So going back to what you asked me earlier, like I have a mentor who's a retired senior level FBI director, right? He was at one of the highest levels, and he has a mentor. He calls us the young Jedis, right? And in our group, you know, we're talking about Secret Service, DEA, FBI, you know, directors of professional basketball teams, NFL football teams, you know, just a host of senior level law enforcement guys and gals, right? And he's always, every 2 weeks, we have our Jedi call, and he's always pouring into us. You need multiple mentors. And here's another thing. If you don't like the seat at the table that you're sitting at, or if there's not a platform for you to stand on, build your own, right? Create your own platform, build your own table. Stop begging people to be a part of something that they don't want you a part of. Realize, recognize your value, right? What you bring to the table, right? Realize that you have something to offer, right? A lot of times we're too busy begging, and in our culture, you know, everybody want a handout. Everybody wants something for free. You know, going back to something Ms. Marilyn said earlier about buying and sewing into each other, doing business. You know, in the Black culture, if Black folks buy from Black people, a lot of times we want the hookup. We want the biggest discount, right? There is no such thing as a free lunch. It's got to be paid for some type of way, right? And stop wanting a discount, because if all you want to pay is $5 for something, that's how much you value that item that you bought. If you're willing to pay $1,000, that means you value it at $1,000. You don't want nobody to sell you short. So stop selling other people short. And like what Toyenda said, you got to be willing to sow. There is nothing for free. Time is not free, right? Expertise is not free. And not only do you need mentors, but you also need a sponsor. Connect with the right people, because if you, matter of fact, there's a new program right now, new initiative called Project 110. I don't know if anybody have heard of it, but there right now currently at least 36 companies that are dedicated to hiring 1 million Blacks in the next 10 years, and not just hire them at the lower level, but they're talking about mid-level, you know, and senior level executives. So not only do you need mentors, but you need sponsors, right? And the only way somebody is going to sponsor you and vouch for you, you know, when you don't really have a credibility in that arena, you got to be able to build positive relationship. That means, guess what? You bring value to the relationship. They understand how important you are. You might not have the title or have the education or have the background they have, but they understand there's something special about you, right? And I'm willing to vouch for you and give you that opportunity.
And Kanera, really quickly, Les, I'm going to be quiet, but really quickly, even connecting into what you said, in my mind, the people that mentor me, that sponsor me and help me, they do not need my money. Listen to me. These people have money, they have wealth, they have status, affluence, influence. But when they see that I'm humble enough and okay to even be a servant in that space, that's going to cause them to want to help me to get ahead. So that's another just thought to consider when we are working with other people who are helping us along. They do not need your money. They don't need you. They do not. But when you can show them that you appreciate them, and you can show them that you value their time and their expertise, they're going to go the extra mile for you.
And Toy, to add to that, they understand legacy. So for us in the Black community, in order to continue the Black success and the Black excellence, right, we have to understand the value of building legacy, right? Paying it forward, right? Legacy, right? you're pouring into somebody else because now their payback is to pour into somebody else, right? Back to what I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois talked about, the talented 10th, right? And I feel like that's a place that a lot of us have failed, or our culture has failed each other, right? Those that have made it, right, have not really reached back, right, to help build that bridge to bring others up. But then some of those that are part of that 90, they want the 10% to give them everything, and they don't really want to work and earn nothing. You got to earn your way, right? Again, you got to bring value, add value, and distribute value, right? You got to show where you valuable. And again, Toy, like what you said, that these folks, multi-millionaires and billionaires, they don't need nothing from you, but what they want for you is to help, for you to help carry on the legacy.
And wow, I would love to talk all night with the three of you. What an outstanding and Brother Capers, I want to share something with you. With you talking about the bad strategy, I want to share with you what's on my desk. It's a little note on my keyboard right here. Add value, contribute, and deliver. Every morning when I come to work, this is on my monitor right here, and I look at that every day. And as you were talking, I'm just thinking about how when you put those things in front of you, and Toyinda was talking, when you put those things in front of you, you know, you move toward it. You move toward excellence, and that's what this whole conversation was about. Do we have? I think we have a little giveaway. Toyinda, do you want to talk a little bit about the events you have coming up so we can do this giveaway?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Les. So everybody, I'm also the executive director of the nonprofit organization Legacy of Women. And I started this organization because I knew that even in my coaching program that I could not help a certain population of people. And so I started the Legacy of Women, and it is to inspire the hearts of women towards meaningful living, healthy giving, and transformational leading. And that builds legacy, okay? And what we're doing is we are raising money for a community program. And that program is for women. I'm not going to exclude men, but it's geared towards women. And it's going to help those who are on the bubble, right? Remember when I got here, I was on the bubble, y'all. Help women who are on the bubble trying to reset their lives to help them to stability and sustainability. So we'll deal with things like being mentally tough, right? What does it mean to have emotional intelligence? We'll do a SWOT analysis on them. We will allow them to have public speaking skill set, communication, those type of things that kind of get them into a place of stability and sustainability. And so we are having a CEO panel, and this panel is called Think Like a CEO. And it's a fundraiser for the organization, and it is going to be a phenomenal panel. You can go to, I'm going to drop the website in here. It's Legacy of Women Inc., INC. But Mingle of the PD is supporting with purchasing a ticket, and they're going to give it away tonight. So I'm so excited and very thankful for you all doing that.
No problem. Mingle's glad to step in and help out with that. And I actually have a little cup here, y'all, with names in it. So I'm gonna reach it here. LaQuantia Goodman. Miss LaQuantia, are you on this call? I believe she's on.
Trying to unmute myself. I am here.
Hi. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited. I can't wait to attend.
Well, congratulations. Do we have any closing thoughts from any of our speakers? Again, Toyinda Smith, Kenara Capers, Marilyn Hemingway. This was just an outstanding conversation. And you see everyone's kind of dropped their contact info into the box down there. If you don't have their contact information, reach out to me. I'll make sure that you get in contact with these individuals as needed. Any closing thoughts from any of the three of you? And anything you want to throw in?
I I do really quickly, and I am going to be quick. In order for us to continue to display or advance Black excellence, I'm going to start using that concept and term now. We really do have to be mentally tough, you all, because the playing field is not equal. And so we have to make sure that we can self-manage and self-regulate ourselves. Being mentally tough is all about managing your emotions. So you know you're supposed to get this contract. You know that you're the best person at the table, but you know the decision makers are connecting into the people who are already privileged. You still gotta press through. You cannot turn around. You have to keep pressing forward, and you have to do the work. And so that's my encouragement, is to be mentally tough out here. We have to do it.
I want to add, and I'm going to be a little bit practical, my final words. Have a business plan and put it in writing. And it does not need to be 40 pages. You can have a 1-page business plan. And it's no joke that some people have written business plans on their napkins. And I do stuff all the time where I write notes to myself. And I have a business I'm starting this year. I have to my goal is to put it down in writing in 1 page, because I've got to answer the who, what, where, and why, and the how. And the how is how I'm going to make the money to make it profitable and sustainable. You can do that in 1 page. It takes you training yourself, but please put it in writing, because if it's not in writing, it's simply a dream. A plan is in writing. And it forces you to really do the work that needs to be done. 2 other words: be consistent. One of the things with me when I started in 2018 and my other businesses, once I decided and took ownership of my entrepreneurship, which I've actually always been an entrepreneur, but I was just making money for other people. But once I took that step to do it for me, consistency, show up every day. And you might show up at 6 a.m. some days, and some days you might show up at 1 p.m. But the key is show up. And then I think the most important word is take time to see your abundance that's right in front of you. And what do I mean by that? I was standing in a community garden with a friend of mine who's an artist. And she started this community garden this past summer. And while we were standing in that community garden, because I was supporting her and everything, she said, "Marilyn, here's our abundance right here." Let me tell you what that community garden did. Not only did it feed people, but she took the corn cob waste, and because she's an artist, she made little dolls out of that corn cob, and she starts selling them, and she's putting that money back into her organization. All too often, we look for others for our abundance, when we can simply walk out our front door and our abundance is right in front of us. And who would thought, there are a lot of people who see that community garden. I've had people even say, "Oh, she used old tires to put plants in. That just looks bad." They could not see the abundance of that community garden. And she wants other people to take it over. She's building that legacy that Mr. Capers is talking about, so others can take over the abundance that she has created. And she wants to go and replicate that in another community. That's spreading that abundance. You talking about creating a new table, because when I started the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, I didn't want a seat at the table. I started it to create a whole new table. Now, I want you to bring your table into the room with me, but I'm building my own table. Let's all put our tables in that one room. Going back to the community garden, so many of us are so blind by trauma or what's going on that we fail to see that abundance. If you could step out your house and see the authentic abundance that's right in front of you, nothing can hold you back. And I want to say one more thing about abundance, and I may insult somebody right here, but I really see the need to say this so people can really understand that. I don't know how many of you are doing paparazzi, you know, the jewelry, and folks are going to get mad at me for saying this. We buy that, they send it to us from China, and we sell that for $5, $10, $15. All right. You can actually go outside your house, take seeds from the tree and the plants, dry them up, bleach them, clean them, paint them, make them into jewelry, and sell that same necklace and bracelet you made for $100 to $200 to $300. So tell me, where is the abundance? That abundance is right out our front door, and we can't see it because we're looking for somebody else to give us the abundance when it's right in front of us. And I just want to end that with that.
Before we get to
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for coming. Before we get to you, Mr. Capers, and much love to all the paparazzi folks. So,
Yeah, I know. That's why I said people might get mad at me, and that's a good thing. And I'm really not knocking you, and it's a wonderful thing.
But
I see it, and I know that people that call me all the time. Yeah. So.
But you
don't get mad at me.
Before I go to closing thoughts for Canara, you said build your own table and bring your table, and we all have our table set up in the room. That is powerful, because that's not about a chair. That's not about bringing a chair. That's about having a place. That's about having your own place, having your own space. And so that was just so powerful of me. Brother Capers, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, man. So just a few things. And again, it goes back to what I said. Leaders, true leaders, are creators and not in competition with other folk, right? And a bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. If we can let our egos go, always be humble, always be hungry, right? And always hustle, we'll do some great things. But one of the things I want to add in closing is we as Blacks, we need to build our libraries, right? Mm-hmm. If your TV screen, whatever size TV screen you have in your house, if you got a 50-inch TV screen, you need to have a minimum of 50 books in your library. If you don't have a library built in your house, then you're not building for success, right? We spend more time on Facebook, but we can't get into a good book, right, to get nothing out of it that's going to build us, right? See, there's four interior empires that we must set in place in order for us to be the success that we want to be. Number one is mindset. Number two is heart set. Number three is health set. And number four is soul set, right? We can get the mindset right, but if your heart, your health, and your soul ain't right, that's only a fraction of the equation, right? So we have to, to build the totality of man. We got to look at it from the holistic point of view. Now, I just want to share a couple of good reads, right? For those of you to add to your library, right? Because leaders are readers and we're lifelong learners, right? And we can learn something from everybody. The first book I want to introduce to you is a book called Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice by Dennis Kimball and Napoleon Hill, right? This is an excellent book from any entrepreneur, anybody that's thinking about making money, having a business or anything. This is a great book. The next two books, because the richest culture in the world, it's the smallest culture in the world. The Jewish population, the Jewish culture represents less than 1% of the world's population, but they are 25% of the world billionaires. So they're doing something right. So y'all, we got to study other cultures. So there's two books here. One is called The Money Code, right? Becoming a Millionaire using ancient Jewish wisdom, right? This is a good book. And then it's also called The Investment Code, right? Y'all, we work hard for money, but we don't make our money work for us, right? Mm-hmm. We're chasing a dollar, but our dollar don't have a job, right? Our money, guess what, y'all? We don't need to be in debt. We're so bogged down in debt that we can't leave a legacy to our children. Let me tell you something. If your money can't reach 2 generations down, you ain't got no money. Because the good book says, blessed is the man that leaves an inheritance to his children's children, all right? Another book is called The Richest Man Who Ever Lived written by a guy named Stephen K. Scott. This is an excellent book, especially for money management and also for business and just regular life success, right? And here's a great book, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Y'all, so much practical wisdom, right? And the last book is a very simple book, right? It's by a guy named Josh Metcalf. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water, right? And it talks about the mentee-mentor relationship, right? How about trusting the process, you know, about how having principles versus your feelings. The reason why a lot of us can't be successful because we get so caught up in our feelings and we don't have any principles to live by, right? Chop Wood, Carry Water, short read, right? If you don't want to read it, hey, get the Audible app, download it. And there's a thing called Traffic University. I often ask people this, Toy, Ms. Marilyn, Les, when was the last time you've been to school? And people often think about when was the last time they was in college. But when I answer the question, I tell them, I said, I've been to school today. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I've been to Traffic University. The time that I spend driving, I'm not on the phone gossiping. I'm not listening to Nene twerk it. What I'm doing, I'm listening to something that's going to edify me, something that's going to elevate my mindset, something that's going to help me to master my crafts so I can master my life, right? So last thing I would say, build your library, right? We need to be less distracted with television and our mobile devices, right? And we need to be more engaged in building ourselves, right? There's another book that I'm reading by a guy named Robin Sharma. It's called The 5 a.m. Club. And he talks about the 20-20-20 formula. And he talks about 66, the number 66, right? It's in the 66 thing that he talks about. It says it's hard in the beginning, messy in the middle, but beautiful in the end. It takes 22 days to break the habit, 22 days to start a new habit, and another 22 days to maintain the new habit that you start, right? So it's based on a scientific study, right? Another great book. Y'all, I'm telling you, if you want to be successful and you define your own success, right? Build your library, add to yourself, and what you do at the first hour in your morning is going to determine your day. Journal in the morning, journal in the evening. Like Ms. Marilyn said, write down. If you don't write it, ain't nothing but a fantasy. Start visualizing, right? Your success. Stop visualizing where you want to be, right? Stop talking to other people that don't add no value to you. And you got to learn how to talk to yourself. Yes, y'all. Some people might say you crazy, but they can call you crazy all they want. And if they give you a check for it, take that check and invest it, y'all. Start learning how to speak success to yourself and tune out the naysayers. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And again, thank you. Congratulations, Ms. LaQuantia, Troy Smith, friend, colleague, author, coach. Thank you so much for joining us. Kenera, law enforcement, leadership guru. Look forward to working with you and seeing you more in the near future. And Ms. Marilyn Hemingway, CEO, President of Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate having all of you on board. And thank you all for hanging in there with us most of the time. Most of our folks hung in there with us. So thank you so much. We put the names of the books into the chat box if y'all want to capture that real quick. And this will be posted on the Mingle of the PD Facebook page. I'll share it with our speakers, our panelists as well, to share it at your leisure. And please, everyone, have a safe and healthy rest of your week. And remember, we are still in a pandemic. So, and sometimes when you have great times like this, it's easy to forget. But we are still in a pandemic, folks. Stay safe. Hold your family closer. Read a book and enjoy one another. Thank you for Mingle of the PD. I'm Les Eccles. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mingle. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.